When I was a kid living in Aberdeen, man, my dad, he was an EMT, he was an ambulance driver. So the way he described his job to me as a kid was he said that driving an ambulance is a lot like driving a taxi, except you don't get the tips. Which you're right to laugh, that's a really bad analogy. I don't think, could you imagine if ambulance drivers took tips? And you're just getting rushed to the hospital and you see that little window slide open to the front? And my dad's like, yeah, this iPad's gonna ask you a question, actually. You got a tip in the back of an ambulance, dude. Can you imagine if you hit no tip and you just felt the ambulance slow down? I don't think driving an ambulance is anything like driving a taxi. But I do think driving an ambulance is a lot more like driving DoorDash. Because the whole goal of either of those is you got to get the delivery there before it gets cold, you know? The joke's a good barometer to see how cool you guys are, so. Yeah, man, I love doing comedy. I've had a lot of different jobs in my life, which, to be honest, is just a polite way of saying I get fired a lot. I got fired one time for drinking and working. I got called in the boss's office. He was a jerk. He's like, Jeremiah, you can't be drinking and working. And I'm so much fun. I'm like, who's working, you know? I don't want to come off too negative, though. I've had good jobs. Like, I worked at a daycare for a little while. That was fun. You look terrified, ma'am. Don't worry. I was supervised while I was supervising them. I was very stoned at the time. I had to have help, you know? I learned a lot about kids working at a daycare. Man, I don't have kids, but I learned there's two main types of kids. There's kids that hate getting dizzy, and kids that freaking love getting dizzy. Whereas I call those kids the future alcoholics of America. Because, just like regular alcoholics, those future alcoholics don't know when enough is enough. Like, I gotta give big life lessons at daycare. I gotta be like, Billy, we puked twice. We're getting close to what we call a blackout, okay? Now, from personal experience, buddy, what we're gonna wanna do is we're gonna wanna lay down and take a nap. Because if we keep going, we're gonna poop our pants and get arrested, okay? I was fired pretty quickly from that job, too. Oh man, I've had a weird life. Half my family's from Montana, so when I was a kid, they would take me to the family ranch in Ekalaka, Montana, to learn how to buck horse shit, you know, and be a man, you know, do all of these things that never worked for me. And I had a lot of bad chores at the family ranch in Montana, man. But one of my least favorite chores was I had to give my aunt a shoulder massage. Yeah, because after a couple whiskeys, she got a little into that shoulder massage. If I hit that knot just right, she'd lean back and she'd be like, "Oh yeah," which was weird. Like, I don't know what the hardest part of that was besides me. Okay, so I'm kidding. A little Montana humor. Relax. Settle down. At 12, I didn't have the communication skills to tell my aunt, "Please stop, that makes me uncomfortable." So I did the only thing I could think of at 12 to make it stop, which is to make it extremely uncomfortable for both of us. And so when I hit that knot just right and she leaned back and she was like, "Ooh, yeah," I just leaned in her ear and I was like, "Yeah?" And that worked way too well, okay? So she still hasn't talked to me, all right? So my dad's from Montana too, man. He's a real hands-on, old-school dad from Montana, a redneck from Montana. So every time I got in trouble, he wouldn't like grab me by the arm and take me to the car. He'd grab me by the back of the neck and drag me to the truck, you know? He's a tough guy, or as he calls it, the Montana steering wheel. We have fun at home, you know? And there was this one time I had an ear infection and he had to take work off. He was pissed. And when we got to the doctor, he grabbed me by the back of the neck and he reeled me in. And he was like, "Boy, if you're not actually hurt, you're gonna be when I'm done with you." And I grew up to be a petty, petty, petty man. Because I can't wait for my dad to be on his deathbed. Because I'll have to take work off, I'll be pissed. I'm gonna grab him by the back of his neck and reel him in. I'll be like, "Pa, if you're not actually hurt, you're gonna be when I'm done with you." It was me killing my dad, yeah? All right? I just like to get the practice, to be honest. Just walk around my house unplugging things sometimes, you know? It's all right, man. It's cool to joke about your family. I got a weird family. Like, my mom, when I was a kid, would always take me to her friend's house, Eric. And Eric was a kind guy, man. He was the opposite of my dad. So the feelings I had for Eric were confusing as a kid. Like one day I went up to my mom and I was like, Mom, I think Eric should be my dad because I love Eric more than Dad. And she handled it super well, dude. She was like, shh. I love him more than Dad too. Don't mess this up, okay? Which is extra funny as an adult because I got a paternity test done and Eric is my dad. So.